Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here. Today let's talk about something that is talked about in the community more and more, this concept of global passive. For those of you who have no idea what global passives are, what happens if a gacha game introduces this concept of global passive, meaning that if you pull a specific character, for example the Herta here on your account, you just need to have her on your account, you will get a permanent buff to your entire account of maybe 1% crit rate. Let's just say hypothetically something it buffs. Regardless of what it buffs, the more characters that you have, the more of these global passives that you can get. That's basically what global passives are. In this video, I want to talk about why it's actually one of the dumbest ideas gacha games can put into place, and it possibly can be an end of service speedrun. But let's talk about it. In order to understand why this is a huge problem, some of you, and I just want to mention my personal opinions. Again, this is a hypothetical example. It might not exist in the game yet, but since it's being asked on my Discord a lot more, I wanted to share with you my personal opinions and hopefully serve as a bit of a warning before anything comes to stone. If you have an account, for example, like mine, which has every single character in the game, global passive pretty much amplifies income inequality. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. In gacha games, it's already the case because whales have a really, really good time and free-to-plays generally are harder. The problem comes when you have a game that benchmarks clears based on accounts that have many characters with a lot of these passives. For example, if I have every single character in the game, my account will have multiple global passive buff. For example, if I have Zela, my whole entire account gets 10%, 10 speed buff. If I have Argenti, I get energy regen or something like that. The more harmony characters I get like 10% attack buff per harmony character I can get. That is ridiculously overpowered, and because more people will pull a horizontal account playstyle, which means you will go, for example, multiple characters. Like let's say Zela, you pull E0 of every single character over here, then your account will have more and more buffs. So global passive, in a sense, if you are caring only about the copy of the character itself, you can get a very good account, all E0 characters. It incentivizes horizontal accounts rather than vertical accounts. If you guys have no idea what the heck that means, we have an entire video talking about this concept of vertical and horizontal accounts, whether to double down and go to multiple eidolons, or is it better to spread across. Global passive incentivizes horizontal progression, which is generally not as OP as vertical progression. So it could be one of the reasons why they're trying to do it that way, to make people pull multiple characters. There are situations where it is okay, but here's why it's actually an end of service speedrun. If you have free-to-play players who, let's say you don't like the new character coming up, for example this unit over here, if you don't like the character, you skip it and it has an OP global passive, you will forever not have that buff until you pull that character. And the more characters that you skip because you're free to play, you don't have the resources, you will have lesser and lesser global buffs. Now, some of you might be saying it could only be like one character, two character might have this, not every single character might have this global passive. But the fact that once a global passive is being introduced into the game, it opens like Pandora's box, right? It opens the gateway to have more of these in future. And those of us that didn't get a certain character with that global passive, regardless of what it is, you will always be at a disadvantage. The reason why global passives are overpowered and broken is because they scale infinitely with any future character that come into the game. If you have a unique mechanic, for example, maybe, I don't know, a ability to revive teammates or something like that, any future character that comes into the game that could potentially abuse this mechanic then scales with this global passive infinitely, and that is the true problem of why global passives are so broken. Because it potentially could create new playstyles, it could make accounts very broken, and it favors the whales, it disadvantages the free-to-play. Now, we will talk a bit about what is the true implications of this, but let me just tell you and switch to the better part of things, right? What is a pros? Is it the only bad things, or is there a way that you can mitigate the damage? There is one way that you can actually reduce the damage. One is you release global passive characters. Not all characters have global passives, but some of them you release, but you give them for free. So who knows, we might get a free, like if Castorice was the first character that has global passive, she might be free, and then in that case, I think it's alright, because you reward players from playing the game as long as it's attainable by everyone. Is very, very good. Future players, maybe they might be slightly disadvantaged, but it rewards long-term players, active players, players that don't drop off. So if they do this in a sense that they give global passives for free, as long as you log in and stuff like that, like maybe Doctor Ratio or something, so free Castorice, that is a huge plus. The second thing that I could think that game developers can get away with global passives is if you go for example, like a E6 character. So if let's say, if you are a whale and you pull for multiple Eidolons on your character here, go all the way to E6. And then at E6, it says, if you have E6 on your account, your whole entire account gets a 10% speed buff. I think that is decently fair, because then the pool of people that it benefits is so small, so minute. In that case, it doesn't really affect the overall game state, because benchmarking on the average player will generally exclude these players who have multiple Eidolons in characters to begin with. So as long as the benchmarking is not done against these whales, I think it's fine. It's just an additional reason for people to spend money. In that case, I can see global passives being accepted. But if you are putting it at E0 for the layman, it's going to cause a lot of problems, because income inequality is going to keep getting wider and wider. And in Honkai Star Rail, based on surveys that we have done in the past, the pay-to-play players, the free-to-play players are roughly split quite evenly. If you look at our community tab on our channel, we asked the number of free-to-play, number of pay-to-play, it's about half-half. So what this means is, if they introduce this into the game, is they are trying to cut out a free-to-play player base. This is, again, whatever gacha game it is. As this is hypothetical, this is a theory that why no other gacha games have done this yet is because it cleaves out the free-to-play population. When you cleave out the free-to-play population, it might sound stupid, but in essence, what you're doing is you're increasing the value of players that are left in the game. Because by cleaving out the free-to-play population, all you're left with is the people who are more incentivized to spend money, and the people who spend money are the ones that actually maintain the game. So in a sense, you don't lose much other than viewership, you don't lose player base. You lose player base, but you don't really lose money in that sense. So I think that is possibly the game makers' direction that they are thinking of, as they are introducing these cleaving mechanics to cleave out your player base, increase monetization, because it is a very aggressive strategy. From what I am aware, no other gacha games currently do this. They do have it in some form or another, like if you have multiple characters of the same class, you get like maybe a buff on your account in some other gacha games. But again, it's a very predatory model, because it really forces players to spend more and not skip characters. If you don't even like the character but it has a very OP account-wide passive, then you will be more and more forced to incline to spend money. And if this were to happen in a game that we are playing, a game that we like, in my opinion, it will kill the game much quicker than anything else, and that is my biggest worry with global passives. I think it's a ridiculous idea, and I think it's really absolutely dumb. I hope that no developer will introduce this into their game. If it does, hopefully they covered what we mentioned already in the previous topics, the 2 reasons when it is potentially okay to have. Other than that, let me know you guys' thoughts in the comments below. When I first heard about this from our community on Discord as well, I found it absolutely ridiculous, and that was the reason why I put out the previous video as well. Who knows? Will they actually introduce it? Will they not? Only time will tell. Thank you guys so much for watching. Check out these 2 other videos, which I think you might like as well. See you guys in the next one.